I was ready to walk away at that point. After that, for the first time in my life, I was ready to quit a project. And Dewan pulled me aside and he said, all right, I'm going to tell you two things. He said, number one, you're being hazed tonight. People wanted to see how you're going to react.
Yeah.
And that actually invigorated me because I was in a fraternity.
It's like, okay,
Shout out
I know
to
this.
the fraternities out there. You know what I'm talking about.
I do.
Okay. And as long as there's a light at the end of the tunnel,
Yeah.
I can do hazing.
Yeah.
But the next thing he said is what changed the course of my life. He said, you came here with something important to say tonight, and you experienced having your voice taken away. And I said, yeah, exactly,
Right.
man.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. He said, the reality is many of the people in the room tonight experience that on a daily basis.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
I know that that doesn't create any true sense of understanding. It's not like a shared reality.
Yeah.
But for me, it was enough of a bite-sized empathy to say, I got a lot to learn.
Welcome to the Better Things podcast, where Detroit's change makers and boldest voices come together for authentic conversations. We highlight people who are building businesses, shaping culture, and driving progress one neighborhood and one voice at a time. I'm Diallo Smith, the president and CEO of Life Remodeled, and we're going to dive deep into the heart of the city and hear directly from those who are forecasting and shaping the future of our city. Today, I'm here with Chris Lambert, the founder and former CEO of Life Remodeled, and now founder and CEO of Next Level Nonprofit. Let's get into it. Chris Lambert, founder and former CEO of Life Remodeled and founder and CEO of Next Level Nonprofit. What's going on, my brother?
My brother.
So, this is like it's like one of my favorite episodes ever.
Okay.
Being able to get you in the seat and just have some conversations, go down memory lane a little bit and talk about what's next. But I always start off with this, with all the guests. I'm going to establish you. I'm going to knight you as a Detroiter.
I'll take it. I need all the help I can get.
But as a Detroiter, what is your most favorite or most memorable Detroit neighborhood experience?
Okay. Well, you're sitting in it, right? We're here in the Durfee Innovation Society.
Yeah.
And community that we entered in 2016
Yeah.
with great enthusiasm and excitement that turned into my teeth getting kicked in metaphorically, which hurt worse than I think having them kicked in physically.
Yeah.
But it's to bring up a memory that sounds very painful, and it was, as my favorite memory was because that ended up being the most transformative experience of my life as it relates to really learning how to connect across cultural differences and divides.
Yeah.
In a truly authentic way, and it sent me down a journey that I'm still on.
Yeah.
But the many of those contentious relationships, as you know, ended up turning into very, very close and deep friendships that still are happening today.
And I want to talk a lot. Obviously, we're going to talk about what's next, but I think it's really important for us to talk about what was and what's been. So last night, we had you brave guy. You orchestrated and invited a roast of yourself, which is like this either he's crazy or brave or both.
I'm still cooking from that last night.
But it was fun, right? Yeah. I mean, but what I love most about it, being there, you had this group of people that felt like family, right? From diverse backgrounds, socioeconomic, ethnic, cultural, all there to roast and celebrate you, of course. But it made me reflect, like, wow, how does somebody, what is the secret sauce of somebody being able to navigate all of these different cultural spaces and bring everybody together in a way that's positive, that's endearing, and that's forward thinking? And so, for our listeners, talk about that, 2016 to now time period journey.
Sure.
That you said that you're on.
Sure.
And, good, bad, and the ugly. I mean, so I'll preface, little bit Caucasian guy.
Yeah, a lot of bit.
from northern Indiana.
Very northern.
Right, with blonde spike tip hair, right?
Since high school.
So this is unchanged, right? Coming into Detroit, which is a little bit more melanin impacted, right?
Much more.
Different cultural backdrop, totally. You come smack dab on the scene, and then
Let's go.
And then what?
Let's go. Right. So I think it's like double-edged sword or a two-sided coin when I talk about the secret sauce, or like what really, creates that bridge. And I really believe it's love. I really do believe that is the language that crosses every gap in the world, every language, every tribe, every culture, you name it. Along with that love, though, that love can come from a place of wisdom, or it can come from a place of ignorance, or somewhere in between, right? And so that love for me came from a radical life change experience I had when I was 22, when I was living in Australia, and I had this radical encounter with God that changed the whole trajectory of my life.
Yeah.
And where I want to go with this is, like, prior to that experience, I loved my family, I loved my friends, my fraternity brothers, but I really couldn't care less about people outside my little bubble. And it was immediately after this encounter with God through the person of Jesus that I was filled with like this very strong sense of curiosity about people that I would meet. And that was very new for me, right? And it continued on through the years and to this day, and to different parts of the globe that my wife and I ended up living in California and West Africa, and then moving to Detroit. But I think that genuine curiosity coming from a place of love is what covered, well, the scriptures actually say love covers a multitude of sins, right? And so it covered my ignorance, but that love would have been very shallow if it didn't lead me to a place of looking in the mirror and saying, I'm part of the problem.
Wow.
And so I'm going to put humility in there as a really important piece, right? Is being self-aware enough to say, you know what, there's a lot of tension here, and I am creating a significant part of it. And there's also historical factors that I have nothing to do with from my own lived experience, but I have everything to do with from identification as a white male and all that is.
So when you so that I was listening to a TEDx talk that you did maybe a couple years ago, right? And you were talking a little bit about that experience, but more in a very specific way. I think there was like a community meeting where I believe here in this neighborhood, and you were announcing the things that you were going to do, and the honorable councilwoman, revered councilwoman Joanne Watson, who has since passed away, she was there, and I'm going to guess you didn't know what you didn't know, so you didn't know who she was, didn't know any of this stuff.
I'd heard her name, but I'd never seen her.
Right.
So I didn't realize she was sitting in the front row of this meeting. By the way, there were 250 people present. It was the second community meeting that we'd had after we'd announced we'd acquired this Durfee Innovation Society. Prior to the announcement of this acquisition, we'd have about 50 people come to community meetings, which was amazing. But now we had 250. And the first time went really bad. It was a listening session, and it was very, very, very intense. And I was all excited about this second meeting because I'd been meeting with community members face-to-face, one-on-one for months now, right? And when we would break bread and have a conversation, the conversations would always end, at worst case scenario, amicably, right?
Worst case.
Worst case. Even if someone said, well, I don't really agree with what you're doing, but it would still part ways like, cordial. But most people, when we would sit down, would say, I love that, because it was their vision. It was the community's vision. And some would say, I love it too. I think it's BS. I don't think you're going to make it happen. But again, I was expecting a great meeting. And so the meeting started off, I got up on the stage, I was ready to show the slides of the vision. And the very first slide I put on the stage caused literally about 20 to 25% of the people in the room to pick up their chairs and turn them around completely the opposite direction, which I'd never experienced before. And in my mind, it was hey, the show must go on, right? Like, I'm gonna continue speaking for people who came to hear what was being shared. And then all of a sudden, someone stood up and had some very strong, loud words to say and was yelling, and somebody else in the other room started yelling. And then Ms. Watson, the Honorable Councilwoman, former Councilwoman Joanne Watson, stands up. I had never seen her before. I didn't know this was her. And she comes over and she puts her hand on the bottom of the microphone and she starts to try to take it out of my hand. Again, something I never experienced. And in my ignorance, I'm thinking, again, the best thing I can do is just keep talking. And
so while you're holding the mic,
somehow I thought that was a good idea. I thought it was just best to ignore it, because I'm like, this is, somebody else has got to agree with me. This is weird.
One person. Right.
Most people would agree. And then all of a sudden, someone stands up and says, "Where are all the black men in the room?" And she said it very, very loud, stopping this white mother effer from assaulting the Honorable Councilwoman Joanne Watson. Now, because I had heard her name and I had heard so much respect for her name and her work in the community,
Yeah.
I knew that I was in a moment like I'd never been in before. Literally, the blood drained from all my face down to my toes. I looked over at Dwan Dandridge, who was our vice president, and I asked him, "What do I do?" He said, "Sit down." And he got up on the mic, handed it back over to Councilwoman Joanne Watson. And I was ready to walk away at that point. After that, for the first time in my life, I was ready to quit a project. And Dwan pulled me aside and he said, "All right, I'm going to tell you two things." He said, "Number one, you're being hazed tonight. People wanted to see how you're going to react."
Yeah.
And that actually invigorated me because I was in a fraternity.
It's like, oh, okay,
Shout
I
out
know
to
this.
the fraternities
Yeah.
out there. You know what I'm talking about.
I do.
Okay? And as long as there's a light at the end of the tunnel,
Yeah.
I can do hazing.
Yeah.
But the next thing he said is what changed the course of my life. He said, "You came here with something important to say tonight, and you experienced having your voice taken away." And I said, "Yeah, exactly,
Right.
man.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about." He said, "The reality is many of the people in the room tonight experience that on a daily basis."
Wow.
And
Yeah.
I know that that doesn't create any true sense of understanding. It's not like a shared reality.
Yeah.
But for me, it was enough of a bite-sized empathy to say, I got a lot to learn.
And so in that moment, was there like a, oh shoot, I don't know and I don't know, but I need to start learning fast?
Yes.
Yeah. And then I think as the story goes, you begin to engage more with community leaders. I mean, take it, embrace it,
Yep.
right? But in a way that was, it gave the community members a chance to tell you what's on their mind, what's on their heart, give them a chance to be suspicious, but earn their trust along the way.
Yeah, so what I learned through that, and Dwan said it perfectly, here's what we're going to do. We're going to continue meeting with people. We're not going to ask them to trust us.
Yeah.
We're going to ask them to tell us what they want, what they think, and hold us accountable to do what we say we're going to do. What I learned from that experience was, this was the 2013, 14, 15, fourth year that we'd been working in the city of Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
But it was the first time people were really telling me what they think.
Yeah.
And I learned that, wow, there's a whole lot I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was fascinated by it. That's the curiosity piece. And so that was my goal the whole time, was to truly connect with people, and I thought I was doing it.
Yeah.
And then it started to open my eyes to how much philanthropy in general,
Yeah.
there is this power dynamic
Yeah.
that it creates a sense of shared experience and camaraderie, but it's really a facade.
Speaking of the power dynamics, and I can share this because I know a bit about it. So 2020, George Floyd murder happens, and I think the whole nation, whole world, but certainly the whole nation was at a state of trying to figure out what's right, what's wrong, and what's going to happen next. And you being now a community leader, a nonprofit leader in the city of Detroit, which is a predominantly black city, you begin to understand some of the challenges that many black males specifically faced. But on the other side, you're also responsible for bridge building and generating funds to fuel the mission. And as the story goes, I believe you wrote a little bit of an op-ed or a letter, right?
Yep.
Not necessarily taking a side on racial dynamics, but just saying, hey, this is the challenges that black men face.
Yep.
And as responsible human beings, we need to be cognizant of that and know how to appropriately respond, which was risky in the sense that some people may agree with you and some people may tell Chris, man, that's some bull crap, go to hell, which I believe happened.
We lost one of our largest donors, but I would say we gained clarity on who's really in this mission for the right reasons.
Yeah, yeah.
And also I had a number of amazing individuals who were very much philanthropically engaged and still are to this day with Life Remodeled, who were pulling me aside and saying, Chris, why are you doing this work in this community? They don't want you. They don't want Life Remodeled. They're not, and this is the part that I want to say, that I'm not going to give any names, but they're not grateful, right? And that word really bothered me when people said that. So I would listen to what they would say, and I'd say, here's what you don't see. How beautiful it is that a city that's predominantly black and has been for many, many years with incredible black leadership feels authentic and comfortable enough to say exactly what's on their mind when I've been in spaces where that was not the case, right? Because of the white racial power dynamics. And I began to unpack to them how freeing that is for people, but how freeing it was for me to actually know what's going on and say, what do we really want to do in philanthropy? Do we want to just play games and keep the power dynamics? Or are we really about equality and equity and togetherness? And that's the difference. And people who balked at that email, they made it real clear what they're really about.
And as a leader, how do you translate that? Oh shoot, I may have lost whatever percent of our budget, right, for the year, and justify how you feel on the inside of that was the right thing to do regardless.
It comes down to a belief that I've come to really be convicted by deeply. It's that as leaders of nonprofits, we need to make decisions that are best for the why, for the mission. Sometimes those are at odds with what's best for the organization. And that was one of those cases.
So I want to pivot a little bit into what you're doing now, because I know our audience is curious and should know. But I want to end by this and just ask your thoughts. So since 2014, right? It's been 5 school buildings that either have been renovated or repurposed under your leadership. Soon to be 5, right? Grand opening is coming soon.
Well, that's not with my leadership.
Well,
you are the man, the CEO, the president.
We'll say shared leadership, right?
Okay.
Beautified close to 3,000 city blocks. Recruited over 90,000 volunteers. Boarded up over 2,000 homes. Life Remodeled staff right now is 60% of the staff is Native African American Detroiters.
Yes.
And the Life Remodeled board consists of Detroit community leaders, Detroit public school principals, and Detroit local business owners. So thinking back, like from now to 2014 when we started doing work in this city, like how does that make you feel when you hear those statistics?
As I was driving here to Durfee today, I drove by a front end loader that was loaded. The entire 3-yard bucket was filled with brush. Right? And it just reminded me of the 6-day project that, as you mentioned earlier, brought people together from all different walks of life, whether they lived in the community in the house next door or were the CEO of a Fortune 500 company. Everybody was on the same level almost, it felt like, right, for 6 days. But those statistics that you just said, I love all the 5 school buildings, the community blocks, but the black leadership to me is actually what I'm most excited about. And that really goes back to my entire worldview, where my whole faith mindset is based on a belief that God, in his great love for all his creation, decided that the best way to communicate with us was to become one of us. And as I realized like the power of that incarnation where he humbled himself, right, and realized that the medium is the message. And for me as a guy who did not grow up in Detroit, the melanin deficiency is clearly just a visual boundary, but the cultural deficiencies or differences, right, are boundaries I'm never going to fully understand and cross. And for this organization to be led by leaders who youth in the community, who seniors in the community, who families in the community can see themselves in and truly relate to in depths that go far beyond what I could ever do, reminds me again of that worldview of God becoming human. And I believe that's what our work needs to look like all over the world. I say our work, I'm talking any form of philanthropy.
Yeah, and so with that, so the roast that we had last night here was certainly to celebrate you and to have fun at your expense, but it was also a bit of a bon voyage, right? Because you're getting ready to relocate to Raleigh, North Carolina. Detroit is going to miss you, but tell us what's next.
So I started Next Level Nonprofit
Yeah.
in 2023, wrote the book right here at Life Remodeled, and you know this, but a lot of people don't know that the original plan was that was going to be a program of Life Remodeled. And because, this building is full of incredible nonprofits, and now Anchor Detroit coming soon,
Yeah.
another great conglomerate of organizations. But I believe this, every organization is either growing or dying, no matter where they're at in their maturity, in their excellence. I don't believe in chasing perfection. I absolutely believe in an endless journey of increasing excellence. And so therefore, Next Level Nonprofit started as a program of Life Remodeled, and it ended up taking off around the country. We're in 17 states now because so many other nonprofit leaders resonate with that why. And that why is that we all believe the people we serve deserve the highest levels of excellence we can possibly give them. And so Next Level Nonprofit,
Yeah.
I see you got the book there.
Of course.
Is where it started.
By Dr. Chris Lambert.
Yeah. I normally don't introduce myself that way, but for a book, it helps.
Well, so it's interesting because obviously I know a little bit about this book here, which by the way I recommend for all of our nonprofit leaders across the nation to take a look at. But I'm also wowed by some of these statistics, right? So I was just curious about what's the state of nonprofits in the United States. So we have 1.9 million registered nonprofit and philanthropic organizations. Charitable giving in the U.S. reached a record almost $593 billion, which is the highest total ever recorded. And individuals like me, you, and the staff here in the room are the backbone of philanthropy, accounting for roughly 2/3 of all charitable giving. So if I was just to look at this, and then it talks about nonprofits making up a sizable chunk of GDP by employees, staff count, and this, that, and the other. If I was just look at it, I'm like, well, Chris. I mean, nonprofits. It looks like to me they doing all right.
Pretty profitable.
Yeah, I mean they're doing all right. They're making an impact. So, but you're on this insatiable journey to catalyze nonprofits around the nation and maybe even across the globe. It sounds like to do more. I mean, what? I mean, why? I mean, if I'm looking at this, I'm like, well, what help do they need?
Yeah. I love you putting out that perspective, because as people hear the concept that you're talking about, they're reacting to this from a wide variety of lenses, right? Yeah. Some people are probably picturing nonprofit. Their idea of a nonprofit is a small group of people who serve sandwiches out of the back of their vans, right, to people experiencing homelessness, which is wonderful. Other people, their thoughts of nonprofits are Life Remodeled or hospital or university. There's a wide variety, right? And I'll say this, I am convinced that most nonprofit leaders are incredible humans who are geniuses when it comes to the people that they serve.
Yeah.
But many of us are significantly lacking the tools and the organizational capacity to make the kind of impact that we know that we're capable of.
Yeah.
So as you throw out those statistics, right? Yeah. There's some anomalies.
That's macro, right? That's
including hospitals, universities. Yeah. The NFL is somehow a nonprofit.
Wow.
Right? I don't understand how that works.
So they're probably 30% of that.
No. But 87% of nonprofits in the United States operate on less than $500,000 a year. 92 to 95% operate on less than $1 million.
Yeah.
And 97% operate on less than $5 million a year. So we're all working with very limited resources. And I actually am convinced that operating a nonprofit is more complex than operating a for-profit. I'm not talking about comparing General Motors to Life Remodeled or Next Level Nonprofit.
Yeah.
But if you compare apples to apples, same size annual revenue and same size staff, it's far more complex. Right?
Why do you say that?
Well, in the for-profit world, their customers are paying market value for their products or services, whether it's B2B or B2C. In the nonprofit world, the people that we serve are not paying market value. In most cases, aren't paying for the services at all, which is exactly how it should be.
Right.
But donors are paying for those services. Volunteers, in many cases, are implementing those services. A board is governing the organization. So you have 4 different stakeholders who have completely different perspectives of change. We have 2 bottom lines. no money, no mission, okay? But more
Amen.
importantly, measurable social impact,
Right.
which is very difficult to achieve, as you know,
Yeah.
and really complex to measure.
Yeah.
We can't pay our staff what the for-profits can pay,
Yeah.
right? And because our donors don't want us to, they consider that overhead, evil overhead. All that to say, it's all the more reason we really need to be working on our organizations, not just in them, because the people we serve deserve our best. And honestly, Diallo, that's why I'm so excited that you're the CEO of this organization, because I know you believe that.
Well, I do, and I also will say, Justin, I've had the opportunity, man, to work with and for a variety of different people in a variety of different organizational types, whether it's Fortune 5, not even Fortune 500, Fortune 5, or small mom and pops, or even being an entrepreneur myself. So I'm well versed in a lot of different type of organizational types. But I will say this, working with you has illuminated me to what leadership, true leadership, should be like, and what it should sound like, and what it should feel like. Which is why I'm really, really excited about this next book that you have coming out. Right. So you wrote Next Level Nonprofit, but then on the heels of Next Level Nonprofit, there is
Next Level Leader.
Yeah.
And
tell us about that.
How this book came to be is we've been coaching organizations now for several years.
Yeah.
And the organizations we are coaching, we teach them how to know at all times if they have the right people in the right seats. We call that finding the reindeer, right? Because reindeer they're real, they exist, unlike unicorns, but they're still almost mythical creatures. But we have a way to determine if you have the right person in the right seat. And so now all the organizations we're coaching across the country are acutely aware of some of the gaps that exist with some of their personnel in the organization. But the humble leaders are also acutely aware of their own deficiencies to develop their team members. And so Next Level Nonprofit only touches on how to truly develop your we call them direct supports instead of direct reports, right? We flip our org chart, what we would call right side up, where the CEO's on the bottom. So anyone that you're coaching throughout the organization is an opportunity to truly develop someone into the highest and best version of their leadership.
Sure.
Where you can really delegate and elevate, and you can have leaders who are making decisions who don't need the CEO in the room to micromanage.
And that's interesting because, well, we're in a leadership economy. I'm convinced we're in a leadership economy. I mean, all the bestsellers on New York Times typically are dealing with leadership. There's, I think leadership is one of the most sought after type of books on Amazon. So everybody's either looking to become a better leader or they're trying to define what a good leader is. For our listeners, I know there are a lot of people who are out there like, oh man, well, Chris, he's a high-powered guy. He's a get stuff done type of guy. So of course he was able to accomplish all this stuff, right? And that might be true. But for you and for our listeners, what would you define if you had to say, hey, these are the 3 or 4 main ingredients that you must have to become a great leader?
Yeah. So this particular book is about a concept that we've been calling management for decades.
Okay.
And management meaning anyone that you manage, right? As a boss. So this book really applies to every level of leadership, whether you're CEO or as long as you're managing at least one person.
Yeah.
And Gallup has done the most extensive research in the world on management, and what they've discovered is something that's very obvious to all of us, is that the practices of management have not evolved much at all over the last 3 decades, although the science and the understanding of psychology and social dynamics has evolved radically. And they and others have written several new books about how managers need to become more like coaches. Okay, and I've been saying that for quite some time, but this new book, I'm defining it in a way that's never been defined before, and this is the first podcast I'm ever sharing this, so I'm really excited.
Thank you all right, you heard it here first. Yeah.
But when you think of a coach, what comes to your mind first?
Oh man, I mean Mike Krzyzewski. I mean, if I'm thinking about Detroit proper, you have Chuck Daly.
Okay.
You have the Detroit Lions coach. You have like
because you're an athlete.
Yeah, but people that you like, you want to follow. You feel like they're helping to make you the best version of yourself professionally. Whatever.
Yes. So a sports coach is one archetype.
Okay.
The other archetype that some people first think of is an executive coach, which are two very different forms of coaching. And what a next level leader does is they learn to blend both of those modes. And so I created a matrix. You know, I like the 2x2s, right? Where the vertical axis represents declaration, the horizontal axis represents discovery. And I'll define what I mean by that. A sports coach is high on declaration, low on discovery. And the archetype that I use in the book is Coach Kurt Signetti, which I know you know exactly who that is, but a lot of our listeners don't. The coach of the Indiana Hoosiers, who on his second year of becoming coach, won the national championship, went 16-0. That hasn't been done. Undefeated seasons have happened multiple times, but 16-0 hasn't been done since the 1800s, right? And his first words at his first press conference were, "Google me, I win." Nobody had heard of this guy, right? Nobody wanted him on their team. He was coaching a small university in the South. And anyway, he declared the destination. So here's what a great sports coach does. Winning is the only option, right?
Okay.
They're creating the plays, the coaches. They're creating the practices. The players have absolutely no say in that. But a coach in the sports world is bringing high affirmation, high challenge, getting the right people in the right seats, getting the wrong people off the bus, right, out of the program. And an executive coach is high on discovery, low on declaration. What an executive coach does is their goal is to draw out what is already in you, not give you a direction, not give you answers, but help you learn through self-discovery. So the newer books on management that are coming out are saying you need to become a coach. But they're only leaving people with, you need to ask more questions. These books aren't yet showing people, how do I turn asking the right questions into execution? And that's what a next level leader does, is they're leading with high vision and declaring in the right ways in the right moments, but really moving the needle through discovery and helping people own their roles and truly lead to the point where you can step back. And so I would say the answer to how the successes that you mentioned have happened is I surrounded myself with people far smarter than me. And I really believed that.
Yeah.
And then I got to a place where I truly could let go and then stay in my lane and do the things I do best. Because I could do some other things, but I don't do them well. And they drain me and everyone suffers.
Well, I'll say just in terms of gleaning from your leadership, I think it's an ongoing trajectory, right? I'm learning every day how to become a better leader. I think you're learning every day of how to become a better leader. I'm excited about the city of Detroit because I'm sensing just strong leadership emerging. And quite frankly, I look at myself in the mirror. I'm like, dude, you're like Unc now, right? you're the older guy. And so, but being able to see some of these younger leaders grow, develop, like you said, be coached so that they can become the best that they can be. I think it's an exciting time to be able to invest in that, in ourselves, by investing in the upcoming generation of leaders. Man, this is going to be bittersweet when you transition down south to Raleigh, North Carolina. But I know that they are getting a great family, a great person, and we ain't letting you go, man. So we know that you're going to be back and forth, hopefully, to be
100%.
So we're not letting you go fully. But with that said, so the name of the podcast is called Better Things, and it is derived from an inscription on the city of Detroit flag, which says, "We hope for better things." So as you are a Detroiter now, but also getting ready to transition to a new location, what is the one thing that you're hoping for the city of Detroit?
A phrase that I know that you're a big believer in, and I don't know, I don't think you said it exactly like this, but a city that's one city for all of us.
Yeah.
Where a zip code, I know you've said this. Actually, it has been defining people's destinies, but in statistical ways that we don't want to see.
Right.
You want to see zip codes continue to define destinies, but in the most
positive
positive
way.
light possible. And so, brother, I am with you on that vision, on that mission, and you can count on me from 800 miles away, but you can count on me to show up right here as well and jump in the trenches, man, because that hope is real. That hope is based on the fact that you're taking action. So many Detroiters are uniting and taking action. So it's already here,
Yeah.
and yet the best is yet to come.
Best is yet to come. My brother, appreciate you. It won't be the last.
Let's go.
Won't be the last. Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Join us for future episodes of Better Things as we continue to have conversations with key voices across the city of Detroit. And if you want to learn more about Life Remodeled's mission, please go to liferemodeled.org. We'll see you guys next time.